Hey, what is going on, guys? RvzStealth here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the best hard carry champions for patch 7.4. So what I mean by hard carry is that these champions have the ability to influence a game in a lot stronger of a way than most other champions do. So for example, either these champions have very good early games and they have the potential to just snowball the game out of control, or they've got very strong teamfight potential and very strong, or they just have the ability to influence a team fight in a lot stronger of a way than most other champions. So that being said, guys, let's get started. So we're going to start off in the top lane here, and I'm going to give 3 champions for each role. So the 3 champions for top lane in this patch are Rumble, Fiora, and Gangplank. Now, as for Fiora, I think she's one of the best split pushing top laners in this patch, especially with the fervor buffs. It just makes her even better now. And also Black Cleaver did get that change in this patch, which also helps her out quite a bit. So with Fiora, if you can get ahead early game, the enemies is always going to have to send at least 2 people top lane to try to stop your split push. If they don't, then you're just going to keep taking towers. Your team fighting actually isn't that bad as Fiora. You do want to try to be in the side lanes as her as much as you can, but if you do get fed on Fiora, then you're just going to basically one-shot enemy squishies in team fights. So I think that she's a great pick if you can play her correctly. So Gangplank, the reason to why he's on this list is pretty self-explanatory. He's one of the best teamfight top lane champions. Even if you don't get ahead with Gangplank, you've always got a really good chance to carry in the mid to late game. Your teamfight is one of the best for any top laners. His ultimate is just such a good tool for like team fighting and for helping your team out across the map. And I just think that because of his crazy AoE damage and because of his influence that he can have in team fights, makes him a great hard carry champion. And then for Rumble, he's super underrated in this patch for a few different reasons. So number 1, he's a great pick against these meta AD carries. A lot of the AD carries right now, like Jhin, Varus, and Misfortune, they just like to sit in the back line. They just kind of like to poke and they don't really get too close. Now Rumble is a great pick against those AD carries because if they're trying to sit in the back line and they're trying to poke you, you can just easily engage on them with your equalizer. And because of Rumble's ultimate, I think that's the main reason to why he's a great hard carry champion. If you can consistently land those ultimates in team fights and you can hit like 3 or 4 members on the enemy team, then it's just very easy for your team to follow up with that engage. And if you do get it on the squishy targets, then the team fight is pretty much won for your team. So overall, due to Rumble's strong team fighting ability from his ultimate and just because he's a great pick against the meta ADCs, he is a great pick in this patch. Next up here, we're going to take a look at a few mid lane hard carry champions in this patch, and they're going to be Talon, Katarina, and LeBlanc. So as for Katarina, she's probably one of the most snowbally mid lane champions in the game, which is why she's on this list. If you can get that 1 kill in the laning phase as Katarina, for example, if you can take advantage of her strong level 3 power spike and you're going up against like a squishy mage in the mid lane, if you get that kill on them, they're basically not going to be able to CS for the rest of the laning phase. If they walk in for CS against you, it's just so easy for you to jump on them, burst them down with your high mobility. Her roaming potential is also pretty good. It's not as strong, obviously, as someone like a Talon or a LeBlanc, but you can pull off some pretty good roams as Katarina. And then in team fighting, if you're fed as Katarina, and if you do choose the right time to go in, you can basically 1v5 a team fight and hard carry it for your team. So Talon, the reason why he's on here is because he's one of the best roaming mid lane champions that you can play. He's also super good with lethality right now, and it's just very easy for Talon to take over a game because a lot of people don't expect how fast he can roam and how strong of a roaming champion he is. If you rush Mobies early on with Talon, it's just super easy for you to get to bot lane or to top lane by just hopping over walls and having that movement speed from the Moby boots. He's also so hard to deal with in team fights because his ultimate, you can't reveal it, or he can't be revealed by pink wards or by control wards, I should say. So it's just super easy for him to dive in on the back line, burst down the squishy target on the enemy team, and just make it a 5v4 for his team, which is going to allow his team to just easily clean up the team fight, and it just makes him a great hard carry champion. And then as for LeBlanc, I'm not too sure if she would stay on this list for the upcoming patch for 7.5 because she is getting hit with some pretty decent nerfs in this coming patch. But as for 7.4 right now, she's one of the best like early game snowballing mid lane champions. She's very similar to Katarina in the sense that if you get ahead with her, then the enemy basically just has to sit under tower. They can't really walk in for CS. She can also roam really well with her mobility from her W that she gets, and if she does end up getting a good roam off, say if the enemy doesn't have their bot lane warded, then it's just super easy to jump in with LeBlanc, use your chain on the opponent. You can use your ultimate chain as well, and if they don't have flash, then they're just gonna die instantly. Your burst potential as LeBlanc in team fights on squishy targets is absolutely insane too, so she is another great hard carry mid laner. And then moving into the jungle now, the hard carry junglers for this patch are Graves, Rengar, Shaco, and then I'm gonna do a fourth one as well, being Kha'Zix. So all four of these champions are very similar because they've all got very strong early games and they're all more or less like assassin type champions. So if you get ahead with these champions, then it's super easy in team fights to one-shot that priority target on the enemy team. It's also very easy to get ahead in the early game with these champions. For example, Kha'Zix and Shaco, you can easily look to invade the enemy jungler. Say if they're playing someone like a Rammus or a Sejuani or just someone that has a weaker early game, it's so easy for them to just invade, just catch them out doing a camp or something, kill them, and then you've basically won the game right there because with a Shaco or a Rengar or Graves, you can just constantly keep invading the enemy jungler if you get ahead of them, and they're basically gonna have no jungle. So because these champions are great in the early game and because they have a lot of high damage output, they're great hard carry junglers. Now, taking a look at the bot lane here, the top 3 hard carry AD carries in this patch are going to be Twitch, Misfortune, and Jhin. So the reason I have like Twitch here instead of someone like a Varus is because I feel like if you want to like hard carry as an AD carry champion, then you need to play an AD carry who does have the potential to like pop off in a mid to late game team fight. If you're playing someone like a Varus, he's more of a poke champion. He doesn't have the potential to deal a load of DPS in team fights, and therefore for solo queue you're not going to be as consistent as say like on someone like a Varus, because your team really needs to know what you want to do as Varus. You want to be able to poke with him, you want to be able to siege, and if your team just straight up engages and they don't allow you to do that, then it's going to be a lot harder for you to carry on a Varus as opposed to someone like a Twitch. I would much rather have like a 5-item Twitch on my team late game than a 5-item Varus, because a Twitch can basically one-shot once it does reach late game. He can just absolutely destroy like with his ultimate in the back line. So that's why I have him here as opposed to like Varus, but Varus is still a pretty decent AD carry pick in this patch too. For Misfortune, I don't think I really have to go into detail as to why she's here. Her ultimate is just too strong of an ability for team fighting, and you can just press R with her and single-handedly win games. And then as for Jhin, he's a very unique AD carry because he can influence a game in a way that most other AD carries can't, in the fact that he's got great pick potential with his W and his ultimate. His ultimate can be just such a great tool when you're playing as Jhin to catch out either champions that are out of position or just catch out champions that are low on HP. He also does have the potential to deal a ton of damage in late game team fights with his crit, so I would rate Jhin like a little bit above Varus just because his potential to like hard carry due to his ultimate and due to his late game crits is a little bit better than Varus in my opinion. And then to round out the video here, my top 3 for support are going to be Malz, Thresh, and Blitzcrank. So all 3 of these support champions are very similar because they all have a very strong game-changing ability in their kit. So for Thresh and Blitzcrank, it's their hooks, and then for Malz, it's his ultimate. So with Thresh and Blitzcrank, it's just very easy for you to snowball a game with them if you hit that one hook in the laning phase, and it's also very easy if you do get ahead with these champions to buy Moby boots and just influence other lanes. So what I don't see enough of in solo queue is that, like, once you win lane as a Thresh or a Blitzcrank, players just don't roam as much as they should, and the ability to roam as a Thresh and a Blitzcrank is just so strong, so you should look to take advantage of that. If you go for a roam like mid lane or top lane, and if you can just walk up to them with those Moby boots, you should be able to burn that flash. And then as for Malzahar, he's just such a strong laning support champion. It's so hard to win the 2v2 against Malz. And then at level 6, if your jungler does come to gank, which I would highly recommend just calling your jungler over at level 6, tell them that you're gonna flash in, use your ultimate. If your flash is up, it's gonna be a guaranteed free kill. You cannot get out of that Malz ultimate unless for some reason the enemy AD carry like rushes a QSS. So overall, all three of these supports do have great hard carry potential. So that is going to be all for this video, guys. Be sure to let me know down in the comments below if you do like this type of video. I could maybe do one of these maybe once every few patches if you guys do like the idea. But with that being said, thanks for watching, have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.